So we've covered prisms, so let's go back and look in our notes and let's cover cylinders. All right, so we talked about how to make a net of a figure. So for a cylinder, our net, if you take this thing right here and you unravel it, we talked about in class how it's like if you have a Pringles can and you take off that paper, if you open that up, that would be like a big rectangle. Okay, so you'd have a rectangle for this lateral part, and then you'd have two circles for bases. And you could put the circles in different locations. You could put them on the ends here. You could move those around, but your net should look similar to this. So let's talk about lateral area for a cylinder. It's really the same for a prism because they're basically the same figure except your base shape is always a circle. So that formula is going to be really similar. For a prism, our lateral area is the perimeter of the base times the height. In this case, since our base is a circle, instead of perimeter, we're talking about circumference. So I would jot that down in your notes, showing what each of those things means in the formula. And of course, when we talk about a height of our figure, don't think of that as just necessarily straight up and down. That just means the distance between the bases, so it could also be rotated. Okay, let's take a look at our total surface area now for a cylinder. Again, it's going to be really similar to a prism because we have two bases. So for total surface area, we're going to take that lateral area, circumference times height, plus 2b, two bases. Now, keep in mind, capital B stands for area of the base. In this case, we have a circle, so area there is going to be pi r squared. So you could also expand this formula here. For circumference, you could put in 2 pi r. For area of the base, you could put in pi r squared. I would write it both ways in your notes. Okay, that brings us to volume. Again, just like we said, for an area of the base for a cylinder, it's pi r squared. And our volume formula is going to be just like it was for a prism, area of our base times our height. So you can write it as base times height, or you can expand that and put in that area of a circle formula, pi r squared times your height. All right, so those are the three basic formulas. I think cylinders are pretty easy. If you know prisms, you can do cylinders. So let's go ahead and do this one little practice problem together. Let's find all three things. So starting with lateral area, I always start with writing my formula. So it's going to be circumference times the height. Okay, if we look over here, circumference is always 2 pi r or pi d. You can use either one. If I do 2 pi r times the height, my radius would be half the diameter, which in this case pi d might have made more sense. But anyway, radius would be 8. So that's 2 pi times 8 times my height, which is right here, 9. Okay, let's go ahead and leave our answers in terms of pi here. So go ahead and simplify that down. So really you're just multiplying the 2 times the 8 times the 9. That would all simplify to 144 pi. Okay, that's our lateral area. So units here would be meters squared. Okay, let's go ahead and find total surface area, which we know is always our lateral area, right? All the space around the figure plus two bases. So I'm going to start off with writing our lateral area that we just found, 144 pi plus 2b. Okay, and filling that in, that would be plus 2 times the area of our base, which is pi r squared. We'll go ahead and write it like that for now. Okay, and then pi r squared, so my radius we know is 8, and if I square 8, I get 64. Okay, so rewriting this. So pi times 8 squared, so this I'm going to just switch and make that 64 pi. Okay, so you want to multiply this by 2, and then since both of these terms have pi, you can add them together. Go ahead and do that, see what you get. So multiplying 2 times 64, you get 128 pi over here, plus our 144 pi, you should end up with 272 pi. Again, it's total surface area, so still meters squared. All right, and then last one we have to find is volume. Let's go ahead and do that out to the side. Volume is always area of the base times the height. Area of my base is a circle, so it's pi r squared times my height. Okay, again, my radius is 8, so 8 squared gives me that 64. And then switching pi and 64, I get 64 pi times my height, which is 9. Go ahead and do that math. It's going to simplify to 576 pi. Volume, so this would be meters cubed. And there you go. And typically we'll leave these in terms of pi, so you don't end up putting them in your calculator unless it tells you to. Let's check our answers here. Make sure we got all that right. Looks like we did. All right, and that covers cylinders. You can go ahead and work on that second worksheet now.